You are watching Tech Confessions, created by Amy Lewis and brought to you by VMware.
So, Martin, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for seeing me.
So what would you say your software-defined moment was? When did you kind of make that transformation from a hardware infrastructure world to more of a software infrastructure world?
I think when I first joined SolidFire, almost 5 years ago now, we were looking at how we could use software to define infrastructure, even though it was software installed on infrastructure. We were using software to define the services inside it, so using API calls to define capacity and performance and virtualizing them both. That was the initial draw to go to SolidFire and the interest pieces of SolidFire in terms of the flexibility that it brought. But really it was when we saw our customers deploying it and what they achieved with it that you really got the feeling for the real kind of power of what the software-defined story meant. And I don't think it always necessarily means that it's a piece of software that runs on any hardware. You can use in an engineered infrastructure, you can use software to define infrastructure services. And so that was really the approach that we took with the initial kind of SolidFire story.
And what have you seen customers do with this that you found to be remarkable?
Really to change where the control plane is in their infrastructure. So traditional configured infrastructures, the control plane is with the infrastructure team. So the storage team does storage, the network team does the network, and compute does compute. And that's fine, but it lacks some agility, and it also removes the it removes a certain amount of agility for the consumer. So what we see with people taking advantage of software-defined and orchestration and automation and all the technologies that come with it is that decision-making layer is moving up in the stack, which ultimately means it's getting closer to either the application owners or, in the case of a service provider, to their end customers. And the thing that was revolutionary really was the amount of control that they could put into the customer's hands or into the developer's hands that traditionally was hidden in an infrastructure team. And done properly, they could do it in such a way that it caused no harm. Always the concern when you take an infrastructure service and give it to someone who's not an infrastructure person is, oh, they're going to break it, or this might not work, or they'll do something that will impact another department. But actually well engineered and well thought through, that doesn't need to be the case. And it was really seeing how they could, either as a service provider, build a differentiated service, or as a enterprise, they could give their consumers a different consumption experience.
So what have you found to be the most surprising change in our industry?
I think the expectation around what infrastructure can actually deliver. So you go to the keynotes today and we've got infrastructure, or we've got a problem in infrastructure that's resolved almost entirely in software, almost entirely in real time, and giving a different experience. And I think the expectation of our consumers now is so high in terms of what they can get. It's an old story, but you know, the younger people coming into the workplace now, they're used to getting an email account at the speed of Google. They're used to using those types of technologies to do what they do, not waiting a week to get your laptop and your email address, which is when I started work. Well, actually, a long time after I started work and we had mail. That was the kind of piece that you had. So I think the most extraordinary thing is that change in expectation being delivered by these changes in technology, but actually that change in expectation continues to accelerate, and that expectation is continuing to accelerate, so the pressure's coming back in to the system again to be more innovative in what we do and the solutions that we build and the infrastructures that we can underpin that with.
It's almost the Moore's law of expectations.
Yes, yeah, and it just keeps on kind of going. Now we've got AI chatbots that will help you that will take you through an entire help desk experience, right? And the types of infrastructures that you need to be able to spin up that type of technology and run it and be effective with it is stuff we didn't have a couple of years ago. But now it's kind of commonplace, and everyone's talking about cloud-style containerization and all this other kind. That's something we didn't do a couple of years ago. Now everyone's just expecting you to do it, and it's underpinning this next generation of services that we're seeing being deployed. And obviously AI and sort of technologies like that are really driving a lot of demand for those types of consumption models too.
So increased pressure on the system.
Yes, yeah, which means that we'll, as a technology company, as all of the technology companies here, it means that we can't be lazy, right? We need to continue innovating. We need to continue developing technologies that can be more agile in how they're deployed and more flexible in how they're consumed, and allow customers to burst up and burst down, and as we saw this morning, deliver pizza to the right people at the right time, right? but it's that expectation around service, and I think now so many technologies are underpinning the way a business works. If that technology fails, the business fails. You know, like we see this in the press time and time again of someone's database hacked, or just some basic piece of service doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you suddenly realise that there are 25,000 people consuming that service at that point in time, and now suddenly they don't work. We didn't have those scale points until recently, and that's just going to continue and increase. So we need to, so as you say, the pressure's in there, and the sort of pressure comes back into the system.
Well, thank you so much, Martin, for joining us.
Thank you, Amy. Pleasure to see you.
And we're ready to hear your tech confession. Join us at TechConfessionstheshow.com.